how's it going? In today's video, we're talking about Code and what could possibly be his final trump card in closing the gap of power between himself and Boruto. This video will contain spoilers for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, so if you're not caught up on the series, you have been warned. With that being said, let's get started. Boruto proved to us all that he was thinking 5 steps ahead of Code. The moment we were introduced to Boruto in part 2, he immediately showed his dominance over Code from a psychological level and a physical level as well. Code was an individual in part 1 that many characters did not want to face, and yet we see Boruto in his base form casually stepping over him in part 2. Boruto, like Amato, Ada, and Ishiki, also used Code to push forward his own agenda. Boruto wanted to access the main Ten-Tail's body, and he knew the only way to access Jigen's dimension was using Code as a pawn. Boruto, on 2 separate occasions when interacting with Code, planted the idea of killing him in his head. While Code thought Boruto was all talk, Boruto made his intentions very clear to Code. Boruto knew that Code, of all people, when backed into a corner, typically runs away, and so Boruto goes out of his way to exploit that trait to get closer to what he truly wanted. Code completely underestimated Boruto's Rasengan Uzuhiko, and I believe Boruto said the name of this technique on purpose. He knew that Code wouldn't take the technique seriously after hearing the name Rasengan. Even though it was blatantly shown to Code that Boruto improved when he eliminated his claw grinds just using his sword, Code thought Boruto was the same kid from part 1, and that was his downfall. Code got impacted by the Rasengan Uzuhiko on 2 separate occasions in Blue Vortex Chapter 3. The first instance occurred when Boruto's hand made contact with Code's claw, and Code lost his balance, thinking that Boruto was dodging his attacks when in reality he wasn't. This was an instance when Boruto also planted Kashin Koji's Steam Toad in Code's body. The second instance was a direct hit, causing Code to view the entire world in the form of a vortex. Not only was his balance thrown off significantly, but he also gained tunnel vision. The earth constantly rotating and Code's body being affected by the Uzuhiko had led Code's body to be slowly destroying itself due to the effects. To the shock of no one, Code managed to escape, which Boruto anticipated happening all along. What's interesting is that the last thing we see Code do is approach the main Ten-Tail's body. I believe he has one final trick up his sleeve to deal with Boruto, and this trick may cost him everything. Boruto at the end of the chapter likely performed a reverse summoning to get to Code's location. The question is, will he make it in time? Even with his karma activated, Code was not powerful enough to beat base Boruto, so I suspect just like Jigen before him, he is going to extract the power of the Ten-Tails before facing Boruto again, and this can likely occur under one of 2 scenarios. Scenario 1 could occur with Code using the main Ten-Tail's body as a stronger version of a claw grind to challenge Boruto. This may be Code's last mistake because the Ten-Tails has displayed sentience on a few occasions, and freeing it will likely break Code's control over the creature. Code may try to control it further, but I don't see Code surviving after the Ten-Tails is set free, and I see it resisting Code's control very easily. And even if Code does survive the Ten-Tails rebelling against him, I suspect he'll be out of commission for a while. And because the Ten-Tails has access to Code's claw mark ability, it could easily get away from Boruto as well. This will lead to Boruto continuing his quest to hunt down the Ten-Tails, and it gives opportunity for the Ten-Tails to really start thinking for itself. I think scenario 2 is a lot more interesting. Code may want to merge with the Ten-Tails and become its Jinchuriki. This has several benefits from Code's perspective. He'll become a new being, so he'll be free from the effects of the Rasengan Uzuhiko, and he'll have the power to actually challenge Boruto. While there are benefits of Code doing this, there could also be serious drawbacks. He may lose his mind similar to what Obito Uchiha did during the 4th Great Shinobi War, and this would give way to an opportunity for the Ten-Tails to essentially take over Code's mind completely, giving birth to the new villain or true villain of the series. From a narrative perspective, this makes sense. The Ten-Tails could obtain all of Code's knowledge post-omnipotence and know Boruto and Kawaki on a more personal level. I suspect once Boruto enters Jigen's dimension, this is where we will see him activate his karma seal for the first time in part 2 in order to face this new version of Code, because now Code will be on a completely different level of power. Since Code and the Ten Tails wouldn't be in sync with each other, I see this more intense version of Code still losing the fight. And then the Ten Tails will probably use Code's claw marks to escape with Code's body and use that opportunity of isolation to dominate Code's mind completely. Again, this will give opportunity for it to grow into a more serious threat and mature and develop its own thoughts separate from Code. Boruto failing to destroy the Ten Tails could occur in either scenario, which would force him to return to the village and speak with the 8th Hokage. Shikamaru would not expect Boruto because Kawaki only reported Code and his claw grimes attacking and invading the village in chapter 3, not Boruto himself. The reason being Kawaki didn't want anyone interfering with him killing Boruto. Shikamaru would be hostile since he would think Boruto killed his adoptive parents, but I suspect that Boruto would make him aware of the current world-ending threat being the Ten Tails. Boruto could also hint to Naruto and Hinata still being alive, which would obviously confuse Shikamaru. Shikamaru may try to capture him with this shadow possession jutsu, but obviously Boruto having the karma seal or simply using a shadow clone to talk to him could easily escape after that. Shikamaru, knowing this information, would gather the other Kage hosting a virtual 5 Kage summit and disclose that there is a sentient Ten Tails on the loose and to focus all their efforts in capturing it. Kawaki would also be able to testify since he encountered one of the claw grimes talking. This would be important in terms of character development for the Ten Tails since it is constantly being attacked by shinobi at this point. So just as it grew resentful towards Otsutsuki for using it as a weapon, I suspect it will also grow resentful towards shinobi for constantly trying to attack it and decide that all of them should be destroyed. If either scenario occurs, Code will be the indirect cause for all of the destruction that will befall the shinobi world, which is in a way what he always wanted, just under different circumstances. The Ten Tails will act outside of Code's will, however, and Code will then finally realize how much of a failure he has been. We don't know his backstory, but it's likely similar to Kawaki's in the sense that he had nothing from the start. Ishiki gave him false hopes and dreams, because if Ishiki was alive and succeeded in his plans, he would have definitely killed Code without question. Code was used as a pawn by so many people because he lacked the capacity to think for himself. Instead of destroying the world, he could have tried to find his place in it. Boruto was right. Code of all people may still have the power to end this threat and do something good for the world for once in his life. And it may in fact even cost him his life. Code could eventually fight for control over his mind again if he becomes a Jinchuriki, or if he didn't become a Jinchuriki, at least struggle to find a way of controlling the Ten Tails again. He may actually be the key to stopping the threat much later in the story. I do want Code to live to see the error of his ways and even assist Boruto at some point. He doesn't have to work, as a hero. He can in fact be an anti-hero. He just doesn't work that great as a villain. But I guess only time will tell.